Welcome to The Quiet Scientist. I'm so glad you're here. Wherever you are tonight, lying still beneath your blankets, curled up on a couch, or sitting by a softly glowing screen, this is your space now. A gentle place for your mind to rest. A place where questions drift like clouds and answers don't need to shout. You don't have to do anything here but breathe. Let the world grow quiet and let this story carry you. Tonight, we're turning our gaze upward, not too far, just far enough to meet a familiar face, a presence that has followed humanity since the beginning. It has no voice, and yet it has spoken to every culture. It has no hands, and yet it has shaped tides, calendars, and sleep. You've seen it, you've felt it, and even if you're not thinking about it right now, it's thinking about you. Why does the moon mess with your sleep? It's a question that's both strange and ordinary, and like so many things in the night, it resists easy answers. You may have felt it yourself, a restless night beneath a bright full moon, a dream that felt too vivid to be random, a body that just wouldn't settle. Is it just in your head? Is it in your biology? Or is there something else? I hope this story helps you relax, or even drift off to sleep, but just in case it doesn't, if it keeps you just awake enough to follow the trail, I promise there's something soft and interesting at the end of the road. You might wake up with a new little mystery tucked inside your thoughts. And if you enjoy wandering through sleepy science like this, a gentle like or subscribe would mean the world. It helps. The Quiet Scientists keep growing, quietly, of course. I'd also love to know where you're listening from, and what time it is where you are. Midnight, early morning, afternoon nap, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for sharing this quiet with me. Now, take a deep breath in through your nose and let it go slowly through your mouth. Let your shoulders drop just a little. And now, let's begin. Long before humans learned to write, we learned to watch. We watch the skies not with telescopes or charts, but with a kind of patient attention that only survival could teach. The moon, that glowing orb that rose and fell with such perfect rhythm, became one of our first teachers. Every 29 or so days, it waxed from nothing to full and back again. Predictable, measurable, comforting, in a way. When the sun was gone and the stars were scattered, the moon gave us something to hold on to, a light, a rhythm, a silent guide. We didn't call it a satellite then. We didn't know about gravity or axial tilt or tidal forces, but we knew enough to follow it. We counted its phases to measure time, not by hours or seconds, but by the rise of nightlight and the bloom of shadows. Sleep back then was not what it is now. There were no clocks, no apps, no blackout curtains. Night was dark, and darkness meant danger. But when the moon was bright, it brought its own kind of warning, and its own kind of safety. With more light came more vision. With more vision came the possibility of hunting, or being hunted. So, our bodies, attuned to the signals of the natural world, may have adapted to stay slightly more alert on moonlit nights. This was not a conscious thing. You didn't lie on the forest floor thinking, a full moon, time for reduced melatonin? No. It happened below thought, beneath awareness. Your ancestors, and mine, learned how to sleep in rhythm with the sky, and those rhythms, they've never quite left us, even today. When the city hums around you and the streetlights glow brighter than the stars, your body remembers, somewhere in the depths of your brain, past the cortex and into the older places, a tiny part of you still tracks the light of the moon. It notices, it shifts, it waits. The moon doesn't just light up the night, it creates a presence, a glow, a stillness that isn't quite empty. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, not sure why, and felt the pull of something outside the window? A soft blue light touching the edges of your curtains? That's the moon speaking in the only language it knows, illumination. It doesn't shout. It never forces itself upon you, but it lingers. And sometimes it stirs your sleep not by breaking it, but by slipping into it, like mist under a door. You may not remember the first time you saw the moon. Maybe you were a baby, rocked to sleep under its watchful eye. Or maybe it was later, lying on your back in the grass, wondering how something so small could feel so close. But somewhere, that memory exists, even if only as a feeling, a knowing, a comfort. And so the moon became a kind of companion to the night, to our stories, and to our sleep. It was not a god to everyone, but it was a presence, a symbol, something steady in a world that was often anything but. In time, people began naming it, drawing stories from it. Some saw rabbits, others saw faces, some feared it, some sang to it, but all, in one way or another, responded to its pull, sometimes with worship, sometimes with wonder, and sometimes, just sometimes, with a little sleeplessness. Tonight, we'll explore how that works, how the moon can nudge the chemicals in your brain, how it can change the way animals sleep, how it can ripple through folklore, and even find its way into your dreams. There's no single answer, no master key, but there is a thread, soft and silver, and we'll follow it together. Let yourself settle now. The story's just beginning. And as your breath slows, you begin to feel it, that subtle rhythm, not ticking like a clock, but rising and falling, like a wave, like a breath, like the phases of the moon itself. It's not the kind of rhythm that demands your attention. It's the kind that hums beneath your days and nights, gently steering time in the background. Long before mechanical clocks or digital calendars, the moon was our first true timekeeper. It didn't need batteries. It didn't make noise. It simply moved with a kind of quiet dignity across the sky, one soft phase after another, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full, and then, like a sigh, waning gibbous, last quarter, waning crescent, and finally, darkness. Ancient people, scattered across every continent, looked up at the sky and saw not just a light, but a schedule. The moon marked the passage of days with more grace than a sundial and more consistency than memory. Crops were planted and harvested by it. Rituals were planned around it, births, deaths, hunts, and dreams, all quietly tethered to its phases. It may seem strange now, with calendars on our wrists and alarms on our phones, but the moon used to be all the clock we needed. A lunar month, about 29 and a half days, became the natural shape of time. The word month itself comes from moon. Even now, buried beneath all our digital precision, we still carry that inheritance, those deep biological rhythms shaped by lunar patterns. And sleep, too, was folded into that rhythm. You can imagine how different sleep once was. Imagine lying under the stars, no roof above you, just the hush of wind through trees or across sand. The moon, in whatever phase, would cast its light directly into your world, shaping how you felt about the night. When the moon was new and the darkness complete, you might sleep longer, undisturbed by light. But when it was full, round, bold, glowing, sleep might come later or flicker in and out. The full moon has a way of reshaping the landscape. It washes everything in silver, erases shadows, and seems to stretch the hours of twilight. Even today, that influence lingers. Your body responds not only to the amount of light, but to its quality. Moonlight doesn't glare, it glows. It plays with contrast and invites attention. Soft, yes, but not invisible. And just like the moon's shape shifts with time, so too do our bodies respond to its subtle signals. It's not just about light levels. Something deeper may be at work. Tiny internal clocks inside your brain and body, called circadian rhythms, use external cues like sunlight or temperature to know when to sleep and wake. But some researchers believe these clocks may also have a quieter partner, the lunar cycle. Imagine your body as a tide pool, not quite the open sea, but still linked to the rhythm of the ocean. Even with the shore between you and the tide, you still feel the rise and fall, not because you measure it, but because you are part of it. The moon's phases may influence your hormones, shift your mood, or slightly alter your ability to fall into deep sleep. It doesn't knock you off balance, it just nudges you. In fact, some studies, soft, gentle studies that whisper more than they declare, suggest that people may sleep slightly less around the time of the full moon, not by hours, maybe just by a few minutes, but still enough to wonder why. Melatonin, the hormone that helps you feel sleepy, may dip, body temperature may rise just a touch, and dreams, well, they may become just a little more vivid. There's no universal law, no single effect that fits every sleeper. Some people feel nothing, others, everything. But the pattern is old, ancient, even. And like most old patterns, it isn't loud or dramatic. It's just steady, patient, waiting for you to notice. You might be feeling it now, the memory of that rhythm, tucked somewhere deep inside your bones, the part of you that once told time by the sky. You don't need to remember consciously. Your body remembers for you. It's a kind of quiet inheritance, one that science is still trying to map, even as folklore and intuition have drawn it in the stars for centuries. While we no longer plan our lives by moonlight, a part of us still moves to that same cadence. Each time the moon rises, something in you may rise with it. And when it sets, something settles. Time used to be curved, like the arc of the moon through the sky. It flowed gently, not in numbers or seconds, but in phases and feelings. The moon gave us that shape, not rigid, but fluid, not harsh, but consistent. And so, when you lie awake on a moonlit night, your thoughts drifting and looping like a tide that won't turn, it may not be insomnia. It may just be your internal timekeeper whispering, "Look up." You still belong to this rhythm. Let that thought rest beside you for a while. The moon has been marking time for thousands of years, and it doesn't mind if you need a moment to catch up. You don't have to control it. You just have to feel it. Let your breath follow that slow arc, in and out, like the rising and setting of a silver moon. And as that moon-shaped rhythm flows through you, slow, round, and silent, another detail begins to emerge. It's not the timekeeping anymore, not the ancient counting of days or the quiet biological clocks. No, now it's something more immediate, something visual, something you feel in the eyes before you register it in the brain. Moonlight, not like sunlight, that bold and brash torch in the sky. Moonlight is gentler, diffused, silvered. It falls across the world like a whisper, softening edges, cooling colors, turning everything into shades of quiet. Even movement feels different beneath it, like everything has slowed to match its hush. Have you ever walked outside on a full moon night? Not just seen the light from a window, but really walked. No flashlight, no phone screen, just the glow above and your shadow below. It doesn't feel like day. It doesn't feel like darkness either. It's something in between, a kind of luminous stillness. You notice how the trees seem taller, how your own breath feels more visible, how even your thoughts take on a different texture, more reflective, less hurried. You are, in that moment, not just in the world, but in the moon's version of it, and the light itself, that silver glow, is only a reflection. Sunlight bounced off lunar dust, scattered across space and softened by distance. But it doesn't feel borrowed. It feels earned, like the moon is adding something of its own to the mix. A quiet flavor, a shimmer of otherness. Moonlight has long held a strange power over the human mind, not because it's bright, but because it's subtle. You don't squint beneath it. You melt, you absorb, and your brain, even if you're not aware, is reacting. Your eyes may adjust, your pupils may widen, and your melatonin, that sleepy essential hormone, may be trickling away, just slightly, because your body thinks the night is not quite over. That's part of the mystery. Moonlight doesn't wake you the way a lamp does. It stirs you. Not like an alarm, but like a thought that arrives before you're ready to think. A tingle behind your eyes. A slow ripple through your inner calm. Sleep researchers have found that brightness, even soft brightness, can influence how quickly you fall asleep, how deeply you rest, and how long you stay in each phase of the night. But moonlight doesn't need to be bright to change things. It just needs to be present, because light is more than energy. It's a signal to plants, to animals, to you. And moonlight, it tells your body that the night is not as deep as it seems, that some part of the world is still watching, that maybe, just maybe, you should keep one part of yourself slightly awake. This doesn't mean you can't sleep on full moon nights. Of course you can, but it may explain why, sometimes, the sleep feels different, lighter, full of odd dreams, or marked by a strange sense of wakefulness, as if your brain never fully let go. And that soft interruption, that silver crack in the darkness, has inspired humans for as long as we've looked up. Artists have painted it, poets have chased it, even lullabies have whispered about it. Because moonlight doesn't just fall on the world, it falls into the mind. You may have felt it as a child, lying in bed, staring at the square of light on the wall, cast by the moon through the window. That faint glow seemed to hold secrets, not frightening ones, but curious ones. The kind of secrets you could almost understand if you stayed awake just a little longer. And that's the paradox of moonlight. It soothes and stirs at the same time. It says rest, but also look. It says be still, but also notice. In that way, moonlight resembles thought itself, soft, flowing, gentle, yet never entirely still. There's a quiet magic in the way the moon lights up the night without erasing the darkness. It illuminates, but doesn't overwhelm. It reveals, but doesn't explain. That balance between light and not light may be what makes it so uniquely sleep-sensitive. Your body recognizes it not as a call to wake, but as a cue to pause, to shift, to reconsider rest. And then, of course, there are the shadows. Moon shadows are not like sun shadows. They stretch longer. They blur more easily. They move more slowly as the night turns. If you watch closely, you can see how the trees on the sidewalk seem to sigh, their outlines swaying gently across pavement. Your own shadow moves with a kind of grace it doesn't have in the day. Everything under moonlight becomes softer, not just physically, but emotionally. Even your worries seem less sharp, as if the moon has filed down the edges of your thoughts. It's in these shadows that many people report their most vivid dreams. Not nightmares, exactly, but dreams with clarity, shape, and motion. Dreams with stories. And while science hasn't pinned down the exact mechanism, it may be that moonlight's subtle intrusion into the dark is just enough to stir your sleep cycles in unexpected ways. And so, moonlight becomes not just a presence, but a participant in your sleep. It doesn't stay outside, it joins you, in the room, in the rhythms of your mind, in the very shape of your rest. Let yourself imagine it now. A quiet beam of silver slipping through your window, dust drifting through it like snow and water, the world outside holding its breath. Inside, you lie still. Eyes closed, but not entirely gone. You're not alone. The moon is with you, watching, yes, but also waiting. It's like curling around your dreams, tucking into the folds of your unconscious, writing something delicate in the shadows. This is where we pause, not to stop, but to follow the light a little further, to feel not just what the moon looks like, but what it does. And as moonlight drapes itself across your mind, something deeper begins to stir, not just in your thoughts, but in your body, not just in the shimmer of shadows, but in the way you feel beneath your skin. It's subtle, ancient, and very real. A pull, a quiet pull, not unlike the tide. The moon pulls on water, that much we know. Its gravity stretches the oceans, raises tides, shifts coastlines ever so slightly as it passes overhead. Twice a day, every day, the Earth's waters lift and fall, drawn by a silent partner nearly 250,000 miles away. But what if it pulls on you too? You are, after all, mostly water, not in the way oceans are, vast and external, but in the way life is. Cells, blood, fluid, breath, even your brain, soft and floating inside your skull, is a little ocean of its own. And while the moon may not tug at you with the force it does on waves, it still watches. It still calls. Somewhere deep in the brain, in a place older than words, older than stories, your body recognizes this pull, maybe not as gravity, maybe not as science, but as sensation, as instinct, as the simple truth that something out there is moving, and you are moving with it. The tides rise and fall whether we notice them or not. So, do the rhythms inside you. Some scientists suggest that our sleep cycles, circadian and ultradian, are not only shaped by the sun, but subtly influenced by the moon. Not directly, not like clockwork, but in slow, irregular waves, the kind you don't notice until they've already passed through you. And it makes sense, in a quiet way. For so long, we lived in sync with the Earth's natural rhythms, before electricity, before insulation, before the hum of 24-hour life. The moon told us when to fish, when to plant, when to move, when to stay. Some cultures still live by these rhythms. They watch the moon to know when to rest and when to rise. And those of us who don't, we may still feel it anyway, in the nights we sleep more deeply, or the ones we wake before dawn, heart gently racing for no reason at all. There's a wordless comfort in imagining that your body knows something your mind has forgotten, that your cells might remember a time when the moon wasn't just beautiful, it was necessary. And maybe that's still true. Maybe it still is. Even today, studies have shown small but persistent patterns. People tend to sleep a bit less on nights near the full moon. They fall asleep later, wake more often, dream more vividly. Some researchers have recorded tiny changes in hormone levels, like melatonin, the chemical that signals it's time for sleep, dipping slightly under moonlight. Others suggest it might be an evolutionary remnant, a trait passed down from our ancestors who needed to be alert under bright skies, when predators could see more clearly, and prey had to stay quiet. But none of it is absolute. The moon doesn't change everything. It just nudges. It pulls, gently, and that's what makes it so mysterious and so poetic. It's not just physics. It's not just biology. It's that feeling, that hush in your chest when you step outside on a moonlit night and sense, somehow, that you are not alone. You may be standing in the middle of a city, surrounded by light and concrete and motion, but the moon still finds you. Its pull doesn't care about architecture. It's quieter than that. It slips through windows, filters through blinds, and brushes softly across the floor. You don't have to see it to feel it. Some part of you already does. And then, like a tide, you begin to shift, not dramatically, not loudly, but internally. You settle into your breath differently. You blink more slowly. You lie down, not just because it's bedtime, but because your body is leaning towards something invisible, something circular, something you've always known. The moon moves you not like a storm, but like the swell beneath the waves, steady, soft, certain, and sleep, that strange, wondrous state of letting go, might just be another kind of tide, one that rises when the world gets dark and quiet and safe enough to surrender, and falls again when morning stretches in, warm and golden. But on some nights, that tide doesn't come in as quickly. The pull of the moon, especially when full, might hold you in that in-between space a little longer, half asleep, half awake, hovering just above the surface of rest. It's not insomnia, not really. It's a kind of floating, a kind of waiting. Your thoughts begin to loosen, your muscles soften, but part of you stays connected, as if listening for something, as if the water within you is waiting to rise. Maybe that's what the moon does best. It reminds your body that you are not solid, you are not separate, you are part of a larger rhythm, one that includes oceans, stars, and sleep. It's not a metaphor, it's a memory, so let yourself drift with that pull. Let the silver current carry you, not far, just enough. You're still here, still breathing, still whole, but also gently being moved, because the moon doesn't ask for your attention. It doesn't demand anything. It simply continues, rising, falling, pulling, and you, without realizing it, follow. Let that thought rock you like a wave. Let the tide of your body rise to meet the quiet. And as we go deeper into the ways the moon touches your nights, feel how your breath joins the motion, in and out, soft, slow, tidal. And as the tide of your breath continues to rise and fall, the air around you grows older, not just quieter, but more ancient, as if you've stepped backwards into a time before pillows, before beds, before doors that click shut behind you, back to a time when sleep was not soft and separate, but part of the world itself, open, exposed, and shaped by every sound and shadow. In those early days, when the moon was more than a companion, when it was the only lamp in the dark, sleep was something different. It wasn't a luxury. It was a necessity balanced carefully against risk. The deeper you slept, the more vulnerable you became. So, the world developed its own rhythms to protect you. And among those rhythms was the light of the moon. When the moon was new, the world turned pitch black. The air was thick with uncertainty, and sleep came easily, because there was little else to do. But when the moon was full, bold and glowing like an eye in the sky, something shifted. Sleep changed. Under full moons, more creatures stirred, predators saw farther, prey became restless, even the trees cast shadows like claws. And so, we, small and soft and mostly hairless, had to listen, not just with ears, but with skin, with muscle, with instinct. That instinct, the one that kept our ancestors awake during moon-bright nights, ears tuned for the crunch of leaves or the rustle of fur, it hasn't left us. You might not be sleeping in a cave, but your nervous system doesn't know that. Part of you still responds to the moon, not just as light, but as signal. It tells your body, stay ready, just in case. And this readiness shows up in small, hidden ways. A racing heartbeat as you turn over in bed, a dream that feels too vivid to be imaginary, a moment of waking where you're not sure what stirred you, but you're suddenly, totally alert. It may not feel like fear, it may not even register as tension, but it's there, a hum beneath your rest. Like sleeping beside a door you're not quite sure is locked. This is not dysfunction, it's design. You come from a long line of sleepers who survived by being light on their feet, who woke at the snap of a twig, who knew how to lie still and listen. And when the moon was full, they stayed just a little more awake. That's where the wolves come in. Wolves, beautiful, lean, golden-eyed creatures, are deeply lunar animals. They're not ruled by the moon, of course, but they move by it. They hunt under it. They howl toward it. Their nights stretch wider when the sky is lit, and their sleep shifts in rhythm with the lunar cycle. And once upon a time, our ancestors slept not far from them. Maybe not together, but close enough to hear. Imagine lying on the ground, wrapped in skins, the fire now just glowing coals. And beyond the safety of the circle, a howl rises, not threatening, not close, just present. Somewhere out there, another body is awake. That howl would carry across the land, through trees, across rivers, echoing between rock and bone, and for a moment, your sleep would pause, not break, not vanish, just pause. You'd listen. Your heart would slow, and you'd return to rest, but lighter now, more aware. This light sleep, this half sleep, was part of survival, and it still lives in us today. In the way some people wake more easily during full moons. In the way dreams become more story-like, more emotionally intense. In the way we sometimes feel watched, not in fear, but in alertness, when the room is flooded with silver light. Even now, studies have found that people tend to go to bed later and sleep a little less during the full moon. That's true whether they're in the wilderness or in brightly lit cities. It's not a choice, it's a pattern. One passed down through generations, coded not just in biology, but in memory. Because the moon is not just an object in the sky. It's a cue, a mirror, a presence. And so, when sleep doesn't come as quickly on a bright night, or when you find yourself turning over again and again without reason, it might not be restlessness. It might be instinct, a gentle old response to a night that feels more awake than usual. Think of it like this. The moon is not waking you up. It's keeping you near the surface, near awareness, just in case the wolves are near too. But in today's world, the wolves are mostly gone, and the moon is not a warning. It's a wonder. So now, instead of keeping you from sleep, it offers something else, a chance to dream differently, to wander into lighter rest, to travel the borderlands between sleep and waking, where imagination is sharpest and time doesn't quite hold its shape. Those nights, the ones when you sleep like your ancestors, can be beautiful. Not because they are perfect, but because they are real, rooted, rhythmic. You are not broken when the full moon keeps you up. You are remembering. You are responding. You are being human. So next time sleep feels just out of reach, and the moon is hanging above your window like a glowing eye, don't fight it. Let it watch. Let it pull. Let your body do what it has always known how to do. Rest lightly. Dream deeply. And somewhere in the distance, hear the echo of a wolf and know you are safe. And as the imagined howl fades into the hush of the night, you're left with a quiet awareness, not of fear, but of connection, to the moon, to the past, to the hidden rhythms inside you that still respond to cycles older than civilization itself, the kind of rhythms that don't tick or ring or buzz, but move silently beneath the skin. You carry more of the moon than you think. It's easy to believe you've outgrown it, that with thermostats, night lights, and endless screens, the moon no longer holds sway over your life, but it does. Not through spectacle, through subtlety, through cycles so soft, you barely notice until something feels off, and you can't quite name why. These are lunar rhythms, internal tides, biological moonlight. Science calls them infradian rhythms, patterns in your body that operate on a cycle longer than a day. Some of them, like your monthly hormonal shifts, move on a schedule not so different from the moon's orbit. Roughly 28, sometimes 29 days, a rhythm that mirrors the waxing and waning above your head. But it's not just hormones. Other patterns unfold more quietly. Fluctuations in energy, appetite, temperature, and mood. Things that rise and fall not with the hours, but with the passing of weeks. And though it isn't easy to trace each curve directly to the moon, you start to notice. Around the full moon, some people feel restless, others more emotional. Sleep grows lighter, dreams become stranger. And this isn't just poetic speculation. Small studies, nothing loud, nothing absolute, have noticed trends. Melatonin, that sleep-soothing hormone, tends to dip near the full moon. Some people fall asleep later. Their brainwaves shift, ever so slightly. REM sleep, the phase where you dream most vividly, may stretch longer, deeper, more surreal. It's not universal. And that's part of what makes it so fascinating. The moon's rhythm doesn't strike everyone the same way. For some, it's a lullaby. For others, a gentle nudge toward wakefulness. And for a few, it's like nothing at all. But your body knows which kind of sleeper you are, even if your mind doesn't. Imagine your biology as a symphony. Dozens of instruments playing in time, breath, pulse, hormones, temperature, mood. Some follow the beat of the sun. Others, quieter, more ancient, follow the moon. You don't hear them, not consciously. But on some nights, the music feels different. Not wrong, just tuned to another key. That's a lunar rhythm, a quiet conductor just outside your window. And like the ocean tides, this rhythm doesn't stop just because you've moved inland or turned off the light. It continues, slow, pulsing, subtle, and you, even wrapped in sheets and surrounded by modern comforts. Respond. Think of how you feel on different nights. Some evenings, you're ready for bed before you even realize it. Your body sighs, your limbs grow heavy, your mind curls inward. And other nights, you lie there, not anxious, not wired, just not ready. As if some part of you is still waiting, listening, turning inward like the moon turning its face. This isn't failure, it's not dysfunction, it's rhythm. And sometimes that rhythm takes its cue from a silver disk drifting quietly across the sky. And so, your sleep, rather than being a static routine, is more like a conversation, a dialogue between body and sky, between pineal glands and moonbeams, between ancient memory and present moment. Even your dreams may participate. Some nights, you might dream of water, of movement, of chasing things that stay just out of reach. Other nights, you dream in light, in scenes washed in silver or glowing with impossible clarity. You wake and wonder where the images came from. But deep down, part of you knows. They came from the same rhythm that moves the moon. And if you track your nights, not obsessively, but curiously, you might start to notice a pattern. Not every time, not always clear, but a shape, a sway, a rise and fall that echoes lunar cycles. Not clock time. There's something comforting about that. Knowing you're not just reacting randomly to sleep, you're moving in a pattern older than history, older than fire, older than words. A rhythm written into your cells long before you had a name to call it. This connection, this lunar resonance, might be why the moon has always been more than a rock in the sky. We sense that it belongs to us, and that we belong to it, that we're not watching from a distance, but from within the same rhythm. Even now, in a world of schedules and artificial light, you're still a part of it. Your body hasn't forgotten. It doesn't need permission to follow the moon. It only needs a little silence, a little stillness, a moment to remember. And here, in this moment, you can feel it again. Not as data, not as theory, but as a sensation, a presence in your limbs, a softness behind your eyes, a slight shift in the way your breath rises as if matching the moon's own quiet ascent into the sky. So, let it rise. Let the rhythm come. You don't need to control it, just notice. Just follow. Just allow. Because inside you, deeper than thought, there's a rhythm that knows when the moon is full, that adjusts your sleep, not to obey, but to align, to feel safe, to dream a little deeper, to rest in a way that makes room for the mystery. And the moon, patient as ever, waits for you. It doesn't rush, it doesn't demand, it simply circles and watches and calls to the rhythm inside you that always knows how to return. Let that rhythm hold you tonight. And as that quiet rhythm pulses beneath your skin, there comes a moment every month when the moon stands fully revealed, round, luminous, impossible to ignore. It does not blink or flicker. It simply is the full moon. There's something about it. You've felt it. Maybe not every time, maybe not always strongly, but it's there, a faint restlessness, a different kind of night. You look out the window, and even if the moon is hidden behind clouds, something in you knows it's full. You can feel the shift, the fullness in the air, a hush that isn't entirely peaceful, a brightness that doesn't entirely soothe. This is what people call the full moon effect. For centuries, it has lingered in stories, in folk wisdom, in the quiet murmur of sleepless nights. Some say people go a little wild when the moon is full. Others say animals behave strangely, that babies are born more often, that dreams grow more vivid, that sleep becomes harder to catch. Even the word lunatic is rooted in the moon, from luna, Latin for moon. Ancient thinkers believed the moon could influence the mind, stirring chaos or brilliance depending on its phase. They saw it not just as a heavenly body, but as a force, a mood, a spell. Modern science, as always, moves more carefully. The data is soft, sometimes contradictory, but whispers remain. Some researchers have recorded small decreases in sleep time and quality around the full moon. Not dramatic, just enough to make you wonder why that one night felt different. And you don't need a laboratory to know it. Sometimes your own body tells you. On a full moon night, your thoughts may loop more. Your dreams may press closer. You may toss a little longer, blink into the brightness behind your eyelids. It's not insomnia. It's not fear. It's just a shift, like a tide, like a phase, like a momentary realignment with something older than thought. Your melatonin, the hormone that signals to your body that it's time to sleep, might decrease just a little. Your body may take longer to cool down, a subtle delay in the drop in temperature that usually helps you drift off. Nothing extreme, nothing dangerous, just a nudge, a whisper. Some people feel it more than others. Sensitive sleepers, dreamers, children, those who live where the moon still casts real shadows on the floor. But even in cities, behind curtains and glass, it can slip in. Not always through your eyes, sometimes through the rhythms your body still keeps, even without your permission. It's not only about biology. The full moon has cultural weight. It carries meaning. It marks beginnings, endings, thresholds. Ceremonies across time and continent have gathered beneath it. It lights the sky for harvests, for weddings, for battles, for birth. So, maybe your restlessness isn't just internal. Maybe it's shared, echoed across thousands of years of full moon nights. Imagine that for a moment. All the people, across all of time, lying awake under the same glowing face, some pacing, some praying, some just watching, some dreaming, some unable to. You are not the first person to stare at the ceiling and wonder if the moon is the reason sleep won't come. And maybe you're not meant to sleep the same way on every night. Maybe full moon nights ask something different of you. A lighter kind of sleep, a more open kind of dreaming, a willingness to float near the surface of rest, instead of diving deep. There's beauty in that. You don't always have to descend into silence. Sometimes it's enough to lie still in the glow, letting your thoughts wander like moths around a flame. And the dreams that come on those nights, they often shimmer. They're not always comforting, but they're memorable. They may come in flashes, strange landscapes, bold emotions, words you don't remember learning. You wake with a sense of having traveled, of having seen something just on the edge of knowing. That, too, is part of the full moon effect. Not just less sleep, but different sleep. Less about shutting down, more about shifting modes, like your mind is taking the long way around to morning. And the moon, watching quietly above, doesn't demand that you sleep. It doesn't steal rest away from you. It simply shines. It simply is. And in its fullness, it brings fullness to you. Not always ease, but depth. You might feel more alive on those nights, or more unsettled, or more introspective. You may not know why, but your body remembers something the rest of you has forgotten, that you are not made for sameness, that you move with cycles, that not all sleep is the same, and that's exactly as it should be. So, if tonight is a full moon, or if the next one is near, and your bed feels a little less restful than usual, that's okay. You're not broken. You're simply aligned. You're responding to something real, not dramatic, not magical, just natural, just old. And if you close your eyes and breathe deeply enough, you may begin to feel the glow from the inside, as if some part of you is lit from within, matching the sky above. Not wide awake, not entirely asleep, just present. Let yourself rest there, in that glow, in that fullness, in that feeling of being connected to something round and ancient and quiet. The full moon effect isn't a disruption. It's a reminder that sleep, like everything else, has phases, has moods, has tides, and that you, just like the moon, are allowed to change. And as you lie suspended in that fullness, not quite asleep but no longer truly awake, your thoughts begin to blur at the edges. This is the space where dreams tend to slip in, not with force, but with suggestion. The door of sleep has opened just enough to let in flickers of image, sound, emotion, and somehow, when the moon is full, those dreams seem to grow longer arms, more vivid colors, stranger shapes. You may not always remember them. Sometimes they vanish on waking like smoke in sunlight. But you know they were there, dreams that felt thick with meaning, dreams that left a taste behind, like the memory of a song you almost recognize. Scientists call this the REM stage, rapid eye movement, where dreams live and stretch and fold themselves into story. Normally, REM arrives in cycles, spaced through the night like stepping stones across a stream. But some researchers have noticed that, around the full moon, those cycles shift. They become more intense, more insistent. As if the moon isn't just affecting your sleep, but the very texture of your dreams. It's not that the moon inserts dreams into your head. It doesn't plant thoughts. It doesn't choose the stories. But it may set the stage. It may dim the lights just right, alter the music, and let your brain, your marvelous, mysterious brain, do the rest. And what a performance it gives. People often report dreaming more vividly around the full moon, not just in color, but in clarity, in plot, in emotion. These aren't the short flickers of passing thought. They're immersive, deep, dreams where time feels loose and space feels fluid, where you move through places that resemble real life, but glow at the edges, where emotions are louder and meanings more urgent. Some believe these dreams are simply a product of lighter sleep, that we hover closer to waking and therefore remember more. Others suggest a deeper link, that the moon stirs parts of the brain associated with imagery, memory, and subconscious thought. Nothing conclusive, but enough to wonder, and maybe that wondering is the point. You see, dreams have always been a space of mystery. a frontier we visit each night but never quite map. They've been called messages, prophecies, puzzles, or just emotional house cleaning. But what if, on moonlit nights, they become something else entirely? What if they're not just reflections of your mind, but echoes of the sky? Imagine that your dreams are tides, too, rising and falling with internal forces you don't control. The moon, quiet as ever, doesn't dictate where they go. But it might shift the gravity a little, just enough to bring certain thoughts to the surface. That old friend you haven't seen in years, that place from childhood, that strange hallway made of water and velvet. Dreams don't need to make sense to be meaningful. They only need to be felt. And feelings, especially the quiet ones, are the moon's domain. In sleep studies, researchers have tracked changes in brain activity during full moons. One pattern seems to emerge, a reduction in deep sleep and an increase in REM. That means your body may not sink as deeply into rest, but your mind becomes more active. Not like waking, more like drifting, more like floating. And when you float through dreams, you often discover things you weren't looking for. A solution to a problem, a sudden clarity about someone, a memory that rises from nowhere, or a feeling, a knowing, that slips into you with no explanation at all. These are the gifts of moon-drenched dreams. They don't always announce themselves. They don't shout or shine. But they stay with you, tucked behind your morning coffee or folded into the way you pause during the day, suddenly remembering a scene that never happened, but still feels real. Cultures around the world have noticed this for centuries. Some kept dream journals only on full moon nights. Others gathered in silence the morning after, sharing what they had seen behind their eyelids. Some believed the moon made dreams more truthful. Others believed it made them more sacred. Either way, the moon was never just an object. It was a doorway, and perhaps it still is. Tonight, as you drift, your brain will wander. It may take you somewhere strange, somewhere beautiful, somewhere that makes no sense, and yet feels perfect. Maybe it will be a forest under violet skies, maybe a house that hums, maybe a staircase that never ends, maybe nothing at all. But whatever dream comes, know this: your mind isn't broken, it's exploring. The moon has pulled the tide just a little higher, and your thoughts have decided to swim. Let them. Let yourself fall into that place where time bends, where faces shift, where logic floats. You don't have to control the dream. You don't even have to remember it. You only need to allow it, to rest inside it, to trust that your brain, guided softly by lunar rhythms, is doing something old and beautiful and necessary. Because dreaming isn't an interruption of sleep, it is sleep, the wild, gentle part, the part that heals in images instead of words. And on certain nights, especially those lit by a full and glowing moon, that dreaming becomes more vivid, more open, more yours. So now, as you lie still, you may feel that shift beginning, the loosening of thought, the warming of memory, the flicker of a scene unfolding just beyond the edge of consciousness. Let it come, let it bloom, let the moon keep watch. You are safe, you are quiet. You are floating in a dream woven by your own inner tides. And if you wake with no memory of what passed, that's fine, too. Some dreams are meant to be kept only by the moon. And as that dream slips quietly into the distance, perhaps remembered, perhaps not, the night begins to shift again. The moon, once full and bright, begins its retreat. Its glowing face wanes, little by little, night by night, until it becomes something smaller, softer, and eventually gone. The new moon. A night when the sky is blank, a window closed, a lantern blown out. You might not notice at first. There's no announcement when the moon leaves the sky. It simply doesn't appear. The stars seem sharper, the world a little darker, the shadows a little deeper. And though the night might look emptier, something inside you responds, not with alarm, but with quiet, with stillness, with a subtle sinking. New moon nights are different. They don't hum with the strange restlessness of the full moon. They don't stir dreams in quite the same way. Instead, they invite you to go inward. To close your eyes, not just to sleep, but to retreat into quiet, into darkness, into something deeper than rest. There's a long tradition of seeing the new moon as a time of restoration. In ancient calendars, it marked a new beginning, not with fireworks, but with silence, a reset, a pause before the cycle begins again. And your body, still tuned to that slow celestial rhythm, seems to understand. You may find yourself more tired during this phase, not exhausted, just ready to turn off the lights earlier, ready to sink into bed sooner, ready to let go without resistance. As if the absence of moonlight has made space for sleep to grow larger, rounder, fuller, even as the moon itself disappears. Some people say they sleep better during the new moon, deeper, longer, more uninterrupted. And while science doesn't declare this as fact, there's something compelling about the way darkness wraps the world more completely on these nights. There's no glow beneath the curtains, no silver drifting across the floor, no shadows stretching toward you, just night, pure, wide, and full of nothing. And in that nothingness, your body finds comfort. It's like exhaling all the way. You're not being asked to watch or wonder, not being drawn into dream logic or moonlit thoughts. You're simply being offered the gift of unlit stillness, a kind of inner hibernation, short and soft and welcome. Even the earth seems quieter under a new moon. Animals that stir on bright nights may rest more. Insects hush. The wind feels thicker somehow, as if carrying fewer ideas, fewer signals. It's a night not for sensing, but for settling. You may have noticed it without realizing. Those nights when everything feels just a bit heavier in your limbs, but easier in your chest. When your room feels like a cocoon. When the dark feels safe instead of uncertain. That's the new moon speaking in its own quiet way. Not with light, but with its absence. And in that absence, you're invited to rest differently. Not on the edge of dreaming, but in the center of stillness. Not floating, but sinking. Not listening outward, but inward. It's easy to forget, in a world that praises brightness, that darkness has its own kind of healing. The new moon reminds us. It doesn't dazzle. It doesn't distract. It doesn't stir your inner wolves or stretch your dreaming mind across the sky. Instead, it gathers you close, folds you into itself, and says, "Now, rest fully." There's something sacred about a night so dark you can't see your hand in front of your face. Not because it's frightening, but because it's complete. Because it gives your senses permission to stop. Because it tells your body, there's nothing to do now. You can let go. And letting go, truly letting go, is a rare gift. The moon knows when to shine and when to disappear. And perhaps your rest needs both. The dreaming and the dropping. The rising and the return. You are not meant to sleep the same way every night. You are not a machine. You are a rhythm, a cycle, a tide, and the new moon, hidden, silent, still, is part of that tide. It may be the moment when your sleep becomes most complete, when your brain resets more deeply, when your thoughts stop stretching and simply dissolve. No dream journaling, no night wandering, just sleep, pure and deep and dark. And that darkness is not empty. It's full of restoration, of quiet work, of invisible healing. Your cells repair, your heart slows, your breath deepens, and your whole self, for a few precious hours, is free. So, if you wake on a new moon morning and feel softer, lighter, somehow more settled. Thank the night that gave you that space. It didn't ask anything of you. It only offered darkness. And in that darkness, you returned to something essential. The moon will return. Of course. It always does. The light will come back, and with it, dreams and questions and tides. But for now, just for tonight, let yourself vanish with it. No need to glow, no need to wander, no need to reflect, only to rest, to return, to close the door. The moon is gone, and in its absence, you are finally, perfectly still. And then, just as quietly as it left, the moon begins to return, a sliver at first, barely a whisper of light, then a curve, a grin, a glow, night by night. The darkness recedes, and the moon reshapes itself above you. But this time, it's not the only light in your world. Far from it. Because now, even in the middle of the night, the world hums with brightness. Streetlights halo the sidewalks. Screens glow beside pillows. Refrigerators blink. Cars pass with headlights like fireflies. Somewhere down the hall, a bathroom light stays on. And all of it, all that modern shine, drowns out the gentle light of the moon. In ancient times, moonlight was the brightest thing you saw after sunset. It was the difference between walking safely and stumbling, between seeing your own hands and being swallowed by shadow. But now the moon competes. And most nights, it loses. You can test it yourself. Go outside on a clear night, under a city sky. Look up. You'll find it harder to see stars, harder to feel the night, and the moon, once soft and commanding, may seem like a faint ornament hanging above the rooftops. Diminished, distracted, drowned in artificial glow, but your body still remembers, even when surrounded by LED clocks and glowing signs. The part of you that once watched the sky for guidance is still looking, still waiting for moonlight, still tracking it, even if the eyes no longer see it clearly. This is where things get interesting. Because your circadian rhythm, that deep, natural cycle of wake and rest, is shaped primarily by light, not just by the presence of it, but by its timing, its intensity, its color. Sunlight in the morning tells your body to wake. Darkness in the evening tells it to prepare for rest. But modern light doesn't play by those rules. It stays on too long. It shines too brightly. It's cool and blue and piercing, the same kind of light your body reads as daylight. And when it pours over you at night, it confuses the rhythm, delays the signals, blurs the boundary between wake and sleep. Your body, trying to understand, says, "Is it morning already? Should I still be awake?" And so sleep becomes harder to catch. Not impossible, but more distant, like trying to fall asleep in the middle of a stage play, with all the lights turned up and the curtains still open, and yet, beneath all of that, the moon remains. Somehow, even through the bright fog of modern life, it keeps calling to you, not with urgency, not with alarm, just with consistency. It's still there, waxing and waning, lighting the night when it can, disappearing when it must. It doesn't argue with the street lamps. It just waits. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you notice you look up at just the right angle, or walk home on just the right night, and suddenly there it is. The moon, hanging above a grocery store parking lot, hovering between office towers, reflected in the glass of a high-rise window. And in that moment, something shifts. It may only last a few seconds, but your body responds. Your mind softens. Your breath changes, because something ancient inside you is saying, "There. I remember that. That's real." It's not just about beauty. It's about orientation. The moon reminds you where you are in time, where you are in rhythm. It tells your body, the night is real, the day is over. Let go now. Even if the lights around you don't change, something in you does. And that's where the quiet magic lives, in the remembering. Because no matter how many screens you hold, no matter how many bulbs you flick on, your biology is still tuned to the natural light of sky and moon. Your pineal gland, that tiny, powerful clock in the center of your brain, is still listening, still adjusting, still sending signals that say, sleep now. The night has come, and sometimes, when that message feels too faint, it helps to make space for it. You might dim the lights earlier, you might silence the notifications. You might step outside and look for the moon. Even if you don't see it, the act of looking is enough. The pause, the presence, the letting go. The moon doesn't need your attention, but it welcomes it. And when you turn toward it, even briefly, something shifts inside your sleep. Your body remembers how to rest, not just because it's late, but because the moon has risen. So, perhaps the question isn't whether the moon still affects your sleep in the modern world. Perhaps the question is whether you'll let it. Whether you'll allow space for natural light to meet your eyes. Whether you'll invite rhythm back into your evenings. Whether you'll let the moon be more than a background character. It doesn't take much. A walk without your phone, a lamp with a warmer glow, a few minutes before bed spent not scrolling, but gazing, out the window, toward the sky, and slowly, quietly, your sleep begins to shift, not like flipping a switch, more like returning to a familiar path after a long detour. Each night, a little softer, a little deeper, a little more in rhythm with the moon, because despite everything, the moon is still there, still moving, still marking time, and somewhere inside you. There's a part that still moves with it. Let that part guide you tonight. Let the light dim, let the rhythm return. The moon hasn't forgotten you, and your sleep, even in the brightness of the modern world, hasn't forgotten the moon. And as the moon's steady rhythm continues to unfold across the sky, and through your breath, and through your sleep, there's another rhythm it has long been linked to. One quieter than tides, more intimate than dreams, more ancient than history, the rhythm of the human body. More specifically, the rhythm of the body that bleeds. Across cultures and across centuries, the moon and the menstrual cycle have been bound together in story, in observation, and in wonder. Both move in cycles. Both shift subtly over the course of about 29 days. Both involve phases, beginnings, growth, fullness, release, and both are deeply, instinctively tied to time. It's not hard to imagine why ancient people would draw this connection. Long before microscopes and medicine, before clocks or calendars, there was only the body and the sky. And when the two began to echo each other, month after month, it felt less like coincidence and more like communication. There were stories, of course, myths. In some cultures, the moon was a goddess who bled in sympathy with the women of the world. In others, it was said that those who menstruated were especially sensitive to the moon's phases, fertile when she was full, cleansing when she was new. These weren't just stories for entertainment. They were ways of understanding life, cycles, fertility, mood, emotion, and even now, when we know more of the science, the patterns haven't entirely vanished. Many people who menstruate still find their cycles syncing with the moon, beginning their flow around the new moon, or ovulating near the full. Others find it the opposite. Still others feel no connection at all. But something in the body seems to keep watching the sky, as if it hasn't stopped listening to that light. Is it biological? Maybe. There are soft studies, small signals, quiet data points, Some researchers suggest that melatonin and reproductive hormones like estrogen and luteinizing hormone may fluctuate in tandem with lunar phases, not in rigid harmony, but in echoes. There's even research exploring how sleeping in total darkness, except during the full moon, can influence ovulation timing. Nothing conclusive, but intriguing. Whispered hints of something larger at play. And even if the science hasn't mapped it all, the body often knows what words can't say. Some people notice emotional shifts that follow the moon's cycle, energy rising as the moon waxes, sensitivity deepening as it wanes. Some feel more outward during the full moon, more inward during the dark. Not always predictably, not always clearly, but often enough to wonder. And perhaps it's not just about hormones or light exposure. Perhaps it's about rhythm itself, that deep inner clock that finds comfort in patterns, even when it doesn't consciously track them. Living in rhythm with the moon doesn't mean tracking every phase or planning your life by a lunar calendar. It can be simpler than that. It can mean noticing how you feel as the light returns or recedes. It can mean honoring your own cycles, your energy, your mood, your body, without judgment, without resistance, because sleep, too, follows this cycle. People who menstruate often notice shifts in sleep quality depending on where they are in their cycle. In the days leading up to menstruation, it may be harder to fall asleep. Body temperature rises, mood may fluctuate, sensitivity increases. And during menstruation, sleep can become deeper, heavier, more restorative, or more fragile, depending on the person. When this sleep pattern intersects with the lunar cycle, something curious happens. Full moon approaching and premenstrual tension overlapping, the body may feel pulled in two directions. Rest may feel distant, even while exhaustion lingers. On the other hand, a new moon arriving with menstruation might feel like a quiet gift, a time for deep withdrawal, deep sleep, deep restoration. This isn't prescription. It's not a rule, but it's a possibility, one worth noticing, because in all things, awareness opens doors, especially in the quiet places of the body, especially in the cycles that are often ignored, hidden, or hurried through. The moon, distant, luminous, constant, offers a mirror, not of appearance, but of movement. It reminds you that nothing in nature is static, that everything living moves in cycles, that rest comes in waves, not on demand. And if you are someone who menstruates, you already live within that truth. Your body knows it, your sleep knows it, your dreams, strange, shifting, cyclical, know it too. There is no wrong rhythm. Some cycles are irregular, some are silent, some shift with age, with health, with life, but all of them are valid. All of them belong. So, tonight, whether you are in the bright part of your own cycle or the dark, whether you feel full or empty or somewhere in between, know that the moon moves with you, not to control you, not to define you, but to remind you that you are part of something larger, that your body is not a problem to solve, but a pattern to listen to, that rest, when it comes, is not a sign of weakness, but a natural pause in a sacred rhythm. Let that thought settle in your chest. Let the moonlight, or its absence, touch your skin gently. Let your breath follow the curve of a cycle that has been unfolding for as long as time. And sleep, when it comes, will feel not like a break, but like a return. And as that gentle rhythm settles into you, body, breath, and thought, it opens a doorway, not just inward, but outward, across time, across land, across story. Because the moon has never belonged to one place or one people. It has always been shared, and wherever humans have looked up at the sky, they've seen more than just a pale circle. They've seen a presence, a character, a spirit, a keeper of dreams. Moon stories are everywhere. In Africa, some say the moon is a trickster, a messenger from beyond, a creature who once quarreled with the sun. In China, the moon is a home, the dwelling place of Chang'e, the moon goddess who lives alone, eternal and luminous, with only a jade rabbit for company. In the Arctic, Inuit stories tell of a moon man who chases the sun woman across the sky, day after day, creating the turning of time. And in each of these tales, whether whispered beside fire or passed from grandmother to grandchild, there's something soft and constant. The moon is always watching, always shifting, always shaping the nights in ways we feel but cannot name. It's no surprise, then, that the moon so often appears in stories about sleep. In some traditions, it is the guardian of dreams. In others, the thief of sleep. Some cultures believed that children born under a full moon would grow up to be bold and wild, while those born under a new moon might be more reserved, more intuitive. There are tales of people sleepwalking beneath the full moon, guided by forces they couldn't explain, stories of lunacy, of transformation, of people who change under moonlight into something else, wolves, spirits, wanderers. Not because the moon causes madness, but because it touches something in us that resists the ordinary. And maybe you felt that too, that tiny shimmer of otherness on a moonlit night. When the edges of the world feel just a little less solid. When you walk the same hallway, but it looks different in that light. When your thoughts move in circles instead of lines. Even the way we speak reflects this sense. We say moonlit to describe something romantic, or mysterious, or unreal. We call people moonstruck when they're overwhelmed with love or wonder. And in some languages, the word for moon is also the word for soul, because the moon doesn't just mark time, it marks meaning. It weaves itself into lullabies and prayers, poems and superstitions. It becomes a confidant for the lonely, a symbol for lovers far apart, a comfort to sailors lost at sea, and always, always, a companion for those awake at night. You are not the first person to lie awake and look for the moon, and you will not be the last. Somewhere, in another part of the world, someone else is doing it now, gazing out a small window, wondering if the glow on their floor is the same one on yours. They might be telling their own child a story passed down through generations. They might be writing, or thinking, or simply breathing. And though your languages differ, your sky is shared. The moon binds you. Even now, in a world that often feels disconnected, the moon reminds us of our shared story, our shared sleep, our shared mystery. And there's comfort in that, in knowing that even when your own night feels long, someone else is walking through it too, guided by the same soft light, resting beneath the same shadowed curve. The moon does not belong to the past. It belongs to the present, and to presence itself. And when you lie quietly and let your thoughts stretch outward, you may feel it, the thread of story that runs from your breath to the breath of the sky. You may dream in symbols older than language. You may feel echoes of myths you've never heard. You may carry the memory of stories that were never yours, but still feel true. This is not imagination. It's inheritance. It's the reason so many cultures have rituals around the moon, lighting candles on full moons, letting go of regrets as it wanes, setting intentions as it waxes. Even without religion, even without doctrine, people find meaning in the phases, because cycles comfort us. They promise that nothing stays the same, and that's okay. Sleep follows the same promise. You may sleep well one night, and not the next. You may dream brightly, or not at all, but the rhythm continues, waxing and waning, rest and wake, light and dark. And just as the moon returns, so does peace. Even in nights when sleep feels distant, when your thoughts chatter too loudly, or your body resists stillness, the moon is patient. It doesn't scold or hurry. It simply waits. And watching it, you remember how to wait too, gently, quietly, without judgment. Let tonight be part of that cycle. Let the stories of the moon hold you, not as fact or fantasy, but as feeling. Let the myths wash over you like lullabies from across the earth. You don't have to know them all. You only have to feel that you are not alone, not in your questions, your restlessness, your wonder. The moon is above you, and somewhere, someone else is looking at it too. Let that be enough. Let the story continue in silence now, not on the page, but in your breathing. And yet, even with all its comfort, its rhythm, its stories, there are nights when the moon feels like too much light, too much presence, too much stirring in the quiet places of your mind. You lie down expecting peace, but instead you find awareness, bright and lingering, like moonlight on your eyelids. You close your eyes, but your thoughts don't close with them. They scatter, they spin, they open drawers you didn't mean to open. The room is silent, but your mind is full. Some people call it lunar insomnia. It's not a diagnosis, not a disorder, not something that needs fixing. It's more of a pattern, a shared experience, a phenomenon noticed by people across centuries and cultures, and perhaps even across the animal kingdom. Nights around the full moon are the most common culprits. Your body wants to sleep, but part of you holds back. You don't feel unsafe, just awake, lightly tethered to the world, even as your body lies still, restless, but not in motion, quiet, but not yet restful. You check the clock, hoping it's later than it is. You shift, you sigh, you wait. Sometimes it's the brightness, that soft silver glow that slips through curtains or sneaks under the door, convincing your body it's not quite night. Sometimes it's hormonal, the dip in melatonin, the subtle rise in alertness. Sometimes it's emotional, a stirring you can't name. And sometimes it's nothing, no clear reason, just a sense that sleep is farther away than usual, that your body is here, but your mind has wandered towards something unseen, maybe toward the moon itself, because insomnia during a full moon doesn't always feel like resistance. It often feels like invitation, to stay awake a little longer, to lie in that soft liminal space between wakefulness and sleep, to notice. And maybe that's not a failure. Maybe it's a feature. In the past, insomnia was a kind of watchfulness, a survival instinct, a way of staying slightly alert when the environment changed, and when the moon was full, and shadows were shorter, and movement was easier to spot. Your body responded accordingly. Light meant action. Action meant awareness. Awareness meant lighter sleep. The tradition of first sleep and second sleep, a rhythm observed in pre-industrial times, supports this. People didn't always sleep in one long stretch. Often, they'd sleep for a few hours, wake in the middle of the night to think, talk, dream, or pray, and then drift back into a second sleep until dawn. Full moons may have enhanced this pattern, encouraging longer waking periods in the night's middle, when the world was aglow and nothing felt quite finished. Not wakefulness as failure, wakefulness as pause. So, if you find yourself awake tonight, or on some night soon, wrapped in quiet, eyes open to a room washed in silver, you are not alone. You are part of something ancient, something shared. You may not be able to sleep just yet, and that's okay. Try softening instead of forcing. Let your thoughts come, but don't follow them. Let your body lie still, but without demand. Feel the coolness of the sheets, the way your limbs press gently into the bed. Feel your breath, still moving. Even when you don't try, you can rest without sleeping. You can heal without dreaming. And eventually, sleep will come, not as a conquest, but as a companion. But if it doesn't arrive immediately, the moon will keep you company. It's out there now, or will be soon. watching the same rooftops, the same quiet earth, not asking you to do anything, just being present. You might even get up, if you feel drawn to. Sit by the window, let the light touch your face. Notice how the world looks different in this hour. The shapes of furniture, the shadows across the floor, the way silence has texture. This moment, though unplanned, may offer you something gentle, a kind of inner space you wouldn't have found if sleep had taken you quickly. Some of the most beautiful thoughts arrive in these hours, not because you're striving, but because your mind has softened, loosened, wandered into a dream without needing sleep to get there. You may not remember these thoughts in the morning. That's fine, but you'll carry something of them with you, a softness, a slowing, a connection to the night that feels older than reason. Lunar insomnia is not about anxiety, it's about rhythm, disruption, yes, but not destruction. It's the moon reminding you that not every night is the same, that your rest will take different forms, that your body, your mind, your heart, they all live in cycles. You are allowed to change with them. So if you're tired, let yourself rest, even if sleep is slow to come. If you're awake, let yourself be. Without judgment, without story, you are not broken. You are simply being human under the light of the moon, and eventually, the pull of gravity will settle you. The rhythm will return, the waves will slow, and sleep, quiet and sure, will take your hand again. Until then, breathe, feel the moon above you, let it watch, let it wait, let it whisper. You are not alone in the night, and you are not lost to it. You are only passing through a lighter part of the cycle, and even now, you are still resting. And as you lie there, eyes half closed, thoughts moving like mist, it helps to remember that you are not the only one carried by the moon's rhythms. All around the world, in forests, oceans, deserts, and skies, other lives move through the dark, and like you, they feel the presence of the moon not as noise, but as suggestion, as signal, as guide. Sleep, in the animal world, is never just about rest. It's about timing, survival, balance, and the moon, in all its shifting light, plays a quiet role in shaping how and when creatures close their eyes. Some of these rhythms are dramatic. Take coral, for instance, those underwater colonies that look like rock but are very much alive. Once a year, timed precisely to the full moon, coral reefs across vast stretches of ocean begin to release their eggs and sperm into the water at the same moment. A synchronized, glowing snow of life. They don't check clocks. They don't need reminders. The moon tells them when it's time. Above the water, turtles listen, too. Sea turtles often hatch under the cover of night, using the natural brightness of the moonlit sea to guide them toward the water. Artificial lights can confuse them, pulling them in the wrong direction. But the moon, if left alone, offers the path. And then there are the predators, owls, foxes, big cats, creatures who hunt better under the full moon when their prey is easier to spot. On those nights, their sleep shifts. They wake earlier, stay out longer, watch more closely. Their prey, in turn, learns to sleep differently, to hide deeper, to rest with one eye open, if that's what it takes. Some animals simply avoid moving at all during full moon nights, choosing the safety of stillness over the risk of exposure. It's a dance, slow and ancient, between light, shadow, instinct, and timing. Even small creatures participate. Certain species of mice and insects reduce their activity during the full moon to avoid becoming easy targets. Their sleep becomes more intense, more hidden, a kind of lunar hibernation, just for the night. And in the skies, birds adjust as well. Some species of night-migrating birds use the moon for navigation. On full moon nights, they travel farther, their direction guided by the glowing path overhead. Others change their feeding schedules based on moonlight, hunting insects that only rise during particular lunar phases. It isn't just wild animals that feel it. Domesticated creatures, pets, livestock also respond in small ways. Maybe your dog stirs more often during a full moon. Maybe your cat becomes more restless. Horses have been known to spook more easily under moonlight. Farmers once paid close attention to lunar phases when caring for their animals, adjusting feeding, breeding, or movement schedules in tune with the light. And among the most fascinating are marine animals like squid and fish, whose behaviors are often synchronized with the moon. Some fish species rise from the deep in great shimmering schools only when moonlight touches the water's surface. Others stay hidden on those same nights, knowing they'll be seen too clearly. All of this, every adjustment, every shift in rest or movement, happens without language, without clocks, without thought. It's rhythm. It's biology tuned to light. And you, too, are part of that. You may not hunt or flee or rise with the tides, but your body listens all the same. Your eyes detect subtle changes in brightness. Even when closed, your hormones respond to shifts in ambient light. Your sleep changes, not just with what you do, but with what the world around you does. You are, in many ways, more animal than you remember. That doesn't mean you're primitive. It means you're connected. The same moon that leads the turtle hatchling to the sea. The same moon that tells the owl when to lift from its branch. The same moon that sends coral spawning through darkness. Watches over you, too. And maybe that's comforting. To know that your strange night, your lighter sleep, your brighter dreams, your unexpected alertness is part of a much larger conversation, one that stretches across species, ecosystems, lifespans. You're not doing anything wrong when you sleep differently under the moon. You're participating, even now, as you lie still. Creatures all over the planet are adjusting their rhythms to match the lunar phase, not by decision, by design. And in that design is grace. There's no single right way to sleep. Some animals sleep in short bursts. Others drift in and out for hours. Some float while sleeping, like dolphins. Some burrow. Some cling upside down. Some don't sleep at all for days during certain phases of the moon. Nature makes room for all of it. And so can you. Your rest tonight may not look like it did last night. It may feel lighter or deeper. Your dreams may stay with you or slip away. You may wake up feeling changed or unchanged or somewhere in between. That's okay. You are not separate from the natural world. You're shaped by it, moved by it, held by it, even in a bed, even in a city, even beneath a roof. The moon reaches you. Its rhythms are not reserved for wild things. They belong to you, too. So, if you feel out of step tonight, remember, there is no single step. Only the rhythm, only the cycle, only the light and its silence. Let your breath return to that place. Let it echo the wings of the night owl, the quiet stillness of the deer, the slow descent of a fish to safer depths. Let yourself be an animal at rest. The moon is high. The world sleeps in its own ways, and so can you. And as your breath settles once more into the soft rhythm of rest, you begin to feel the stillness inside, that quiet interior landscape where thoughts pass like clouds and memory folds itself into mist. This, too, is a kind of moonlight, not the kind that reaches your skin, but the kind that reaches your mind. Because the moon doesn't only live in the sky, it lives in your thoughts, in your stories, in your dreams. It has settled there, quietly, across your life, showing up in poetry, in lullabies, in the distant glow of a night remembered from childhood. The moon is not just a light, it is an idea, a presence, a symbol that slips past reason and nestles somewhere deeper. You may have noticed how often it appears without effort. A passing glance at the sky brings it to mind. A soft metaphor surfaces in your thoughts. The dark side of the moon. Moonstruck. Once in a blue moon, the moon becomes language for the things we struggle to say, for mystery, for longing, for change, for quiet. Psychologists sometimes speak of archetypes, images and symbols that repeat across cultures, carried in the collective mind of humanity. The moon is one of them, a gentle constant, a mirror to inner emotion, a shapeshifter that never speaks but always says something. And because it's always there, you don't have to work to imagine it. Your brain already knows how. It fills the blank sky of your dreams with it. It drapes moonlight across remembered landscapes. Even if those memories took place indoors, it casts a glow over moments of introspection, solitude, and subtle beauty. You've likely seen it in your own mind's eye, that glowing orb hanging above a quiet field, or reflected in dark water, or following you home on a silent walk. Maybe it wasn't real. Maybe it never happened that way. But it felt like the moon was there, and your mind held on to that feeling. This is what the moon does in the mind. It becomes a companion for emotion. Grief feels lunar. So does nostalgia. So does awe. Joy is solar, bright, sharp, golden. But reflection? That's the moon's domain. The kind of emotion that doesn't leap but lingers, that sits with you quietly, that rises slowly and never asks to be solved. And when you sleep, the moon in your mind doesn't disappear. It becomes something else, a guide through dream space, a light in the strange terrain of imagination. It might not be visible, but it's there. Its presence felt in the pacing of your dream, in the strange, half-familiar glow of the places you visit. It may even be the reason some dreams feel softer, more curved at the edges, less frantic, because the moon slows things down. It invites reflection, and your dreaming mind, like the moon itself, prefers to move in cycles, in spirals, in gentle revolutions. Even when you're awake but adrift, staring into space, letting your thoughts wander, there's something lunar in the way your mind behaves. It drifts, it loops, it glows. You may notice it more during certain moods or seasons. A melancholy evening, a quiet Sunday, a memory that pulls you inward instead of outward. These are lunar moods, not loud, not rushed, but full of meaning. And often, they're accompanied by a desire for stillness, for music without words, for books with soft endings, for light that doesn't glare. The moon doesn't interrupt. It allows, and your mind, your quiet, dreaming, brilliant mind, responds to that allowance with openness. It begins to reflect more than it produces, to notice more than it analyzes, to feel more than it concludes. This is part of why night brings thoughts you wouldn't have during the day. The moon isn't giving you answers. It's giving you space. And space is where your deepest thoughts live. You don't have to chase them. You don't even have to understand them. You only have to be still long enough for them to rise. The moon knows how to wait. And in that waiting, your mind rests differently. Not in sleep alone, but in reflection. In the quiet act of just being. Maybe that's why people talk to the moon, whisper secrets to it, write poems to it. Not because they expect a reply, but because it listens without needing to answer. Your mind appreciates that. It's tired of solving. It wants to soften, to wander without judgment, to revisit old memories without rewriting them, to imagine futures without building them, to simply float the way the moon floats, just above the edge of the earth, steady and silent. So tonight, let your mind wander there. Let it drift over the edges of old thoughts, old questions, old wishes. Let it glide along the silver currents of memory. Let it rest not in silence, but in soft presence. And if the moon appears in your thoughts, whole or broken, bright or hidden, let it stay. You don't need to explain it. You only need to feel it. A quiet symbol for the part of you that watches, reflects, glows, even in darkness. The part of you that doesn't disappear when sleep comes, but simply changes shape, like the moon. And as your thoughts float with the image of the moon, gentle, glowing, familiar, you might realize something quietly astonishing. You've never seen all of it. No one on Earth has. The moon always shows us the same face. Not by choice, but by a phenomenon called tidal locking, where its rotation perfectly matches its orbit around the Earth. That means the far side, sometimes called the dark side, remains hidden from view. Not because it's dark, it gets plenty of sunlight, but because it's turned forever away from us. And yet, it's still there, just beyond the curve, just past the edge of what you can see. A whole half of the moon, invisible from where you lie now. It orbits with you, silently, patiently, like a secret kept in plain sight. There's something strangely comforting about that. The idea that the moon is larger than it appears, that there's more to it than what you've always known, that even in its most familiar form, it holds mystery. And maybe, deep down, you hold a similar mystery. There are parts of your own mind, your own self, that you rarely see. Not because they're hidden out of fear, but because they're simply turned away, quietly orbiting inside you, carrying pieces of thought, memory, feeling, untouched by daily light. Your dreams visit that far side, your intuitions live there. So, do the moments you don't quite remember, the sensations that rise without reason, the small truths that drift up when the world grows quiet. The moon becomes a metaphor for that inner landscape, a reminder that not everything real must be visible, that there can be truth in what stays unseen. And as you sleep, as your thoughts dim and soften, it's often this hidden part of yourself that stirs. You don't dream with the logical mind. You dream with the unseen, with the moon you never see, even waking. There are moments when the far side of you begins to turn, briefly, softly, into view. In the stillness of a late night, in the quiet pause after a song ends, in the breath just before sleep arrives. You might remember something you hadn't thought about in years. You might feel an emotion you didn't know you were carrying. You might glimpse a thought that's more feeling than language. And then, like the moon completing its orbit, that moment passes. You return to the face you know. But it's important to remember that the other side is not a flaw, not an absence. It's part of the whole. Just like your waking self and sleeping self are both you. Just like your light thoughts and your shadow thoughts are both real. And in the same way, the moon remains whole, even when only a crescent is visible. You remain whole, even when only part of you feels present. This is the gift of lunar awareness. The reminder that presence doesn't require exposure, that just because something isn't seen doesn't mean it isn't working, isn't turning, isn't vital. Think of your dreams again, how they form from fragments, how they carry emotions that never quite resolve. They don't need to. They belong to the far side, and they're doing their quiet work even as you rest. You don't need to interpret every dream or explain every restless night. Sometimes it's enough to acknowledge that something deeper is in motion, that sleep, like the moon, includes what is shown and what is not. Let that comfort you. Let it take the pressure away. You don't have to make every night peaceful or every thought make sense. You only have to allow the cycle, to trust that the parts of you in shadow are not gone, only turned for now. There's even a kind of beauty in the hidden. Just like the far side of the moon was once the subject of wonder and imagination, filled in by storytellers, artists, and dreamers long before astronauts ever glimpsed it. The hidden parts of you are worthy of softness, too. Not fixing, not rushing, just attention, just acceptance. And when you close your eyes tonight, know that you are entering that unseen place, not in fear, but in welcome. You are letting go of the known and slipping into the side of yourself that listens more than it speaks. It's quiet there, not empty, just quiet. Let yourself float in that. The moon, whole and round and turning, is always with you, whether you see it or not. And your mind, with all its mystery, moves in much the same way. You are not lost. You are simply turning inward. Let sleep come from that place, from the side that doesn't need to be understood to be real. Let your breath move in slow orbits. Let your thoughts rise and fall like light across a lunar surface. You are complete, even in shadow, even now. And as you continue to drift inward, floating through the unseen, something becomes clear, not through explanation, but through feeling, through a kind of gentle recognition, as though a truth has arrived without needing to knock. It's this: not every rhythm in your life is meant to be logical. Some are meant to be felt. The rhythm of the moon is one of them. It doesn't tick or beep or count down. It doesn't demand, define, or divide your time like a clock. It simply moves, steadily, softly, through light and shadow, presence and absence, seen and unseen. And you, whether you realize it or not, move with it. Even when your life feels messy, scattered, unmeasured, there's still rhythm in you. Not the kind made by apps and alerts, but the kind that lives in your breath, your emotions, your energy. Some days feel like full moons, others like new ones, and most days are somewhere in between. You may not be able to track it. You may not be able to explain why certain days feel light, or why certain nights resist rest. But the moon reminds you that not every pattern must be named to be real. This is the rhythm that slips past logic and enters the space of intuition. You can feel it when you step outside and pause for no reason. When you find yourself quiet at twilight. When you sense something inside you shifting, even though nothing obvious has changed. It's a rhythm that doesn't follow productivity or performance. It doesn't reward effort. It simply unfolds. Nature, after all, does not rush. The moon takes its time to swell and shrink, to come and go. It does not race through its phases to reach fullness, nor does it fight the waning. It accepts the entire arc. And maybe your sleep, your dreams, your inner world, maybe they need that same grace. Maybe your tiredness isn't laziness. Maybe your restlessness isn't resistance. Maybe they're part of your own waxing and waning, part of the deeper rhythm that logic was never designed to measure. Even the body itself speaks in rhythm. Your heartbeat, your breathing, your hormones, your hunger. Your sleep follows these inner pulses, some of which sync with the sun, others with the moon, and still others with something even older. You're not a machine. You're a moving, feeling, shifting being. And the moon, steady above you, reflects that back, night after night. If you've ever felt like your sleep doesn't make sense, like your moods don't follow neat lines, like your energy doesn't obey your schedule, you are not broken. You are human. You are lunar. There is a rhythm to being alive that has nothing to do with logic and everything to do with listening, to the subtle signals, to the nights that ask for quiet, to the mornings that begin slowly, or the evenings that end earlier than expected, listening to the way your body softens when the lights dim, to the way your mind reaches toward the window when the moon is near. And even if you can't see the moon, the rhythm is still there. It's carried in gravity, in chemistry, in silence. There are times when sleep is easy, and times when it isn't. and both are part of the same rhythm. The moon does not stay full, nor does it stay hidden, and neither do you. This rhythm, this breath between seen and unseen, is part of what makes life whole. It's why certain memories only rise when you're quiet, why certain dreams only bloom in darkness, why some parts of yourself only arrive when you stop looking. Because not everything is meant to be measured. Some things are meant to be felt, like moonlight, like intuition, like rest that arrives without a reason. This is not chaos. It's not randomness. It's a deeper kind of order, one that lives in curves instead of corners, in tides instead of timers, in presence instead of plans. Let yourself lean into that. Let go of trying to force the rhythm to match the world's idea of time. Instead, let your rhythm rise from within. Let your sleep be guided not by should, but by sense. Let your rest respond to the light, to the feeling, to the soft pull you sometimes don't even notice. Let your nights be shaped not by numbers on a screen, but by the ancient turning of a distant companion in the sky. And if that means waking at 3 a.m., just to breathe in the stillness of a moonlit room, then that is part of your rhythm. If that means sleeping longer when the moon is gone, then that, too, is valid. The moon does not rush you. It does not correct you. It only continues. You are allowed to do the same. So, as this journey begins to close, this soft walk through sleep and moon and breath, carry this rhythm with you, not as something to track, but as something to trust. You are not behind. You are not late. You are in rhythm, even now, even here. Let your breath move like a tide again, out and in. Let the logic fall away. Let the rhythm remain. And now, as that rhythm settles deep inside you, the world begins to grow even quieter. The edges soften. The stillness thickens. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just this moment, just this breath, just the soft turning of the moon above you, steady, quiet, unhurried. It's time to say goodnight, not just to the day or to the thoughts that once stirred behind your eyes, but to the questions, the noise, the effort. Let them fade now, like footprints in sand just before the tide returns. You've followed the moon through stories and science, through body and myth, through sleep and sensation. And now you arrive here, not at an end, but at a pause, a soft return, a drifting place, somewhere above you. The moon continues its silent orbit. It doesn't need a path. It simply follows the same circle it always has. No urgency, no hesitation, just presence, just movement, just enough. And as you breathe, you begin to match it again. That slow, circular rhythm, in and out, in and out, like tides on a shore, like dreams in the dark, like light passing across the floor of your room and disappearing into shadow. The moon has watched over every kind of night, restless nights, peaceful ones, tearful ones, joyous ones. It has seen you when you slept easily and when you didn't, and it never asked you to be different. It only stayed tonight. It stays still, and so can you. You don't need to chase sleep. It isn't a prize. It isn't a race to win or a problem to solve. Sleep is your right, your nature, your return to the quiet inside you. Let the weight of the blankets feel heavier now, not burdensome, but grounding. Let your limbs sink into the bed like stones into a lake. Let your thoughts drift like leaves on a slow-moving stream, not needing to reach any destination. The moon will hold them for you. Whatever you couldn't finish today can rest. Whatever you worried about can wait. Whatever question you carried can be put down now. You've given enough. The moon doesn't rush through its cycle, and neither do you. Even in sleep, you are still moving forward, still unfolding, still healing in ways your waking self doesn't need to manage. The body knows what to do. The mind, even now, is preparing dreams that may or may not reach you, but they will still carry their gifts. A gentle kind of sleep is coming now, not as a blanket to pull over your thoughts, but as a tide rising beneath them. You don't have to hold yourself above it. You can float. You can let go. There is no wrong way to rest. If you sleep soon, that's perfect. If you don't, that's okay too. Even lying here, breathing slowly, eyes closed or barely open, you are doing exactly what you need to do. The moon does not demand darkness to shine, and you don't need perfect conditions to rest. There may be streetlights, there may be thoughts, there may be a little discomfort, a little noise, but even so, you can begin to soften. You can begin to sink. The moon has guided sailors across oceans, lovers across distance, travelers through wilderness, and dreamers through the night. Tonight, it guides you, not by force, but by quiet example, a light that does not wake, but soothes, a rhythm that does not rush, but invites, a presence that does not speak, but understands. Wherever you are, in a city, in the countryside, in a small room, in a place filled with sound or utterly still, the moon is with you, watching, not judging, shining, not demanding, drifting, not fleeing. And soon, you'll drift too, like a boat on still water, like a cloud curling through the dark, like a single breath, fading into the next. So good night, moon. Good night to the rhythms. Good night to the questions. Good night to the light and the shadow, the story and the silence, the seen and the unseen. You are safe now. You are whole. You are held by something older than thought, deeper than words, softer than silence. Let the moon carry you the rest of the way. Let sleep come.